a few days where it was really hot and almost 90 and humid. But the sun shone every day except for 2 days.
Where did you go in Florida?
Orlando.
Orlando.
Yep. So we had a day of bad weather, well, 2 days down there, and that was it. The rest of the time it kept threatening it was going to rain, but it never really did, and the sun was out. And after the first big rainstorm, it cooled down to like 60. So, which was nice after being 90 degrees and humid, all of a sudden. So my daughter's still there. She went on Monday and now she's in Daytona Beach for a week.
Oh, nice.
So
yeah,
she said it's nice down there, not humid. So I told her, I said, don't get a sunburn because she's prone to that and not listening. And I said, make sure you bring your aloe stuff with you. I said, because I know you're going to get a sunburn. Oh, no, I won't do that. I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. I said, just because it may be cloudy doesn't mean the UVs are not beaming down on you.
Exactly. It fools people. Yep.
Yeah, you think,
I told her
it's
about
not that sunny.
The UVA can go through glass.
Everything.
Everything, yeah.
But is that the one that gives you the sunburn?
The sunburn is usually UVB, but UVA also damages your dermis. It causes damage to the deep layers of your skin. So it's not as cancer producing, but it's damaging still.
All right.
Hey, Bob.
Well,
did you watch the game last night? The women's soccer?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
They're
It wasn't much of a game.
Yeah, it was.
Well,
it was like a good practice. I mean,
yeah,
it was, the outcome was a given, but you see some of these players that are just so awesome. I don't know if anybody is following that besides us, but you're familiar with the name Dennis Rodman, the basketball Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
His daughter's 19 and she's, she was rookie of the year last year and an inch away from most valuable player. And she played her first international game and scored a goal. So
she's just fabulous, and she's got a great future ahead of her.
Yeah,
I don't think there was any starters that played last night. Were there? I don't
any
think
starters.
Well, any of the regulars. It was all the young.
That phrase has kind of lost its meaning.
Well, it was all the young players who were trying to make
there's an emphasis on young players. Two of the players played their first international yesterday, but the reason is that there several players are pregnant right now. They're not going to be playing for a while.
A couple are injured,
and there's injuries, and they're older, and we got so much talent. It's just coming out of our ears.
Yeah, the three forwards, Mallory, Sophia Smith, and I'm blacking on the third one, Macaro. Yeah, the three of them just have a magic, and they've done really, really well the last few games they've started. So I think they're going to be possibly replacing some of those regulars.
Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't a good test for them because what was it, 9-0?
9-0, but I think it'll really build their confidence.
Yeah.
So that's got to count for something.
It's hard to get opponents because of the COVID restrictions. It's hard to find competition right now.
Yeah, like they want to have 2 more friendlies in June, and they're having a hard time finding countries that will travel.
All right. Well, Steve, you got everything up and running that we can start, or do we start more stuff? Okay.
Yeah, I knew Steve was from Mars.
Women are from Venus and men are from Mars. Remember that?
That's where Steve is right now.
Yeah, it looks like
he's on Mars.
He's on Mars for sure here.
All right, so let's start. I think it's officially what, 7:14? Is that
Yep.
right, Charlie?
I don't
All
care.
right.
It's not a board meeting,
That's right. Go ahead.
but that's all right.
Okay. And all right. So welcome officially, everybody, to the April 13th Apple Cider meeting 2022. And oh, look at Carol. She's got daffodils. So we will start with Steve. With which do you want to start with, Steve? Do you want to have Q&A or just the news?
Well,
first?
I can't really do much of anything because we were gone for 2 weeks. I can do Q&A if anyone has any newsy things that they've known about.
Okay.
There were a couple of interesting rumors with the new Mac Studio. I don't know. We probably didn't talk about it last month because it was so new. The Mac Studio storage drive comes in the what is it, in the 512 and 1 terabyte model. There is a single NVMe SSD, and in the 1 terabyte and higher model there are 2 drives, just like in the iMac Pro, and those drives are socketed, which made a lot of people think that perhaps oops, nope, I don't want you. I want to pin me. Perhaps the storage drive was upgradable, and turns out no. Even if you replace those drives with other Apple drives, you can't. They don't work. And what I'm thinking is there's a configuration we have to do when we replace the hard drives as a service component. So I'm guessing they didn't do that. But it probably is a safe bet to assume that when you buy your Mac Studio, get as much disk space as you think you'll need, because you probably won't be able to upgrade internal space later. You can always upgrade external space because it's got enough connections on it. And the other interesting rumor is that the Studio display, there's sort of a negative to it, that at what is it, $16.99, it is overpriced for what you're getting. And no, that's not what I wanted. And it compared to the $17.99 iMac, 27-inch iMac, that had this 27-inch monitor plus a whole computer in it. It seems to be a little overpriced, but it also does seem that there are way more capabilities in the monitor than a typical monitor would need. With the 6-speaker array, the 600 nits of brightness, which works either way, but it's been coming out that there's an A14 or A15 chip in the monitor. So the whole CPU of an iPhone is in the monitor, and basically an M1 processor to control the speakers and the brightness and the camera. So all this extra stuff for this M1, and there's 64 gigs of storage in this chip. So why does your monitor need 64 gigs of storage? And so one of the rumors flying around now is that that's going to be the new iMac Pro, and they're going to replace that with an M1 Pro, M1 Max, and that whole display facility with a different processor in it will now be the new iMac, because they did discontinue the 27-inch iMac, and everyone was a little annoyed by that because it hasn't been replaced by anything other than moving up to the Mac Studio with the 27-inch display, which is significantly more expensive than the old iMac was.
Steve, I just wanted to bring this out because I really don't understand what Apple is doing right now. Because the talk is, okay, there's going to be an iMac Pro. Well, we know there's going to be a Mac Pro, and the Studio, the Mac Studio is a Pro machine. It's not for anybody.
Yeah.
Okay, it's for the pros. And now you have the Mac Pro. So it's like, what's going on here? Can Apple support 3 different Pro machines?
They have been. They've had the iMac, they've had the iMac Pro, and then they've had the Mac Pro. the Mac Studio with the 27-inch monitor is $3,500 for the base model, for the base model.
Mhm.
So that's an awful lot of money for home users. But there's a lot of home users I can see that would like something bigger than a 24-inch iMac. So maybe we'll see that the current Intel 27-inch iMac has been discontinued. I don't think we were able to get any more. A lot of times when computers get discontinued, we'll buy up a bunch of them at the lower price, so we can sell what we like to call yesterday computers. If you don't need the latest and greatest, you're often better off saving some money on the previous generation as a known quantity.
Yeah.
So are they
They
going to
got-
come out with something to replace the iMac Pro, which was a 27-inch monitor that started at $5,000, or are they going to come out and replace the 27-inch iMac between the 24-inch iMac and the Studio display iMac?
Yeah.
So that there's easily a computer that could fit in that $2,000 all-in-one price range.
See,
Where the
I'm
iMac
thinking
used to.
that, Apple, the way they're going with this M1, that maybe they should distinguish their lines, that they have a Pro line, like the Mac Pro, the iMac Pro, and the Mac Studio. And then they have the regular consumer line, which would be the MacBook, which would be a 14 or 16-inch MacBook with, let's say, the M1. Then you have the MacBook Pros go over to the Pro line. So you have a Pro line and then the consumer line, where you would have the Mac Mini and the 24-inch iMac and hopefully the 27-inch iMac, because that 27-inch iMac was the sweet spot
Right.
of desktops because of the monitor. So
That's
I'm
what
just
we're
not
hoping.
quite
This
sure.
the new Studio display is showing us what the next iMac is going to be for people that want an iMac with a larger screen. Even though I think it's 80% of Apple sales are laptops, so you can get a 14-inch laptop and then the 27-inch display. But it would be really nice to have that 27-inch iMac back in that 2,000 to 2,500 price range.
Yeah. For anybody who's looking for a 27-inch iMac, like I told, people, like last month I bought on the refurbished site, they still have quite a few of them. I probably saved $1,000. Went to the refurbished site. I got one for my wife, and an 8-core i7 3.8 iMac, and $1,799, and I saw there was still one there, so it was about almost $1,000 savings by going to the refurbished site. So if anybody's looking to get that 27-inch iMac, which is still a great machine if you get the right one.
Yeah.
Um,
There's 24-inch iMacs available on the refurbished store. So where did they come from already? So that's probably all the demos they sent out to the YouTubers. Now they come back from demo and they have to go back into refurbished because they're not new anymore.
Right. There's a whole bunch of them out there too in the refurbished site.
Yeah.
24-inch.
So you get a 27-inch iMac for as low as $1,299.
Right. But, those are I wouldn't recommend that to anybody, to be honest with you. But, there's some good deals still to be have on the refurbished site if anybody's looking for that 27-inch iMac.
Yep.
Can I interrupt for just a moment here, please? Steve, is maybe my own ineptness, but I'm not seeing today's stream. Today's stream is fine on YouTube. I'm not finding it on Facebook.
Oh, I got to hit a button. Start CIDER Facebook. Connecting. Failed to connect. Oh, I have to create the thing on Facebook. Hang on a minute. Talk amongst yourselves.
Right. Chatter.
Yeah. But yeah, no one is quite sure what Apple's going to do. Several of the commenters have said that the Studio display is almost overkill. But if you want a 5K display, the only option is the LG, which doesn't cost that much less and is an inferior product. You get less. There's the live button I wanted. You get less for what you have with the Apple monitor. But if you want a 4K monitor, you know, you can get a nice 4K monitor for $200-300.
Yeah, I got two Samsung 28-inch 4K monitors for $250 a piece.
Yep.
I liked the one so much that I bought another one. That was last year. So now I have three monitors. You know, I have the iMac and two monitors hooked up to my iMac. But you can find some nice 4K, you know, decent for under $300.
Which is annoying that 4K is $300, 5K is $1,700.
Yeah. Well, that's Apple. I mean, Apple always overcharges for everything.
Even the LG is $1,300, and it's not as bright. It doesn't have a good speaker system. It doesn't have a camera. It doesn't have the microphones. So there's a lot of other things that the Apple has that the LG doesn't.
Yep.
That makes that $300 worth it.
Okay, me again. Should I be able to find the Facebook stream now?
Yep, I've got it up and running.
Oh, now if I knew how to use Facebook, I'd be all set. All right, bye.
All right, and I'm logged in as CIDER, broadcasting as CIDER. Okay, good. Go back to Zoom there. All right. Yeah, so it's been an interesting back and forth, and now there's rumors of a 15-inch MacBook Air. When 15-inch is sort of the Pro line, but maybe I remember that used to be a commercial that Microsoft had where they wanted a 17-inch laptop for under $1,000, and in Apple's product line, the 17-inch was a high-end Pro line, so it was like $3,000. So in the PC world, you can get a big screen with a low-end computer in it, where in the Mac world, the bigger your screen is, the better the computer is too. So the whole thing goes bigger and bigger. You can't get a big screen on a low-end computer. So maybe they could do something like that. But a 15-inch Air would be interesting, because the current 16-inch MacBook Pro is $2,500. So if you want something cheaper but with a bigger screen, you're kind of out of luck. You look at the 14-inch for $2,000, even that's a little high. So the 13-inch Air is $1,299. Maybe they'll come out with a 15-inch Air for $1,599. But
Okay,
with the lower processor.
Can I ask maybe Kim to help me on this one? Kim, you are muted. So I'm on I'm on Facebook.com. I've searched for Apple CIDER computer. I'm getting the March general meeting, and I've refreshed the screen. I'm not seeing today's meeting. What might I do?
If you're
hold on, I refreshed once more, and now it's there. Thank you very much, Kim.
If you like us, it should come up and give you notification that it's running.
Yeah, no, it's there now. I don't know when I just took an extra refresh. Thank you. Bye.
Glad I could help.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, Steve, I have another question for you.
Sure.
And this has to do with the M1 Max, and they do the Geekbench scores and everything. And the single core scores, the M1 literally blows everybody out of the water. The PC, the Intel chips and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But the multi-core, not so much, unless you get into the Ultra, the the M1 Ultra. Um, the single core, would that basically be for, let's say, the average user, if you're just doing email and looking at YouTube and all these very simple things? Because when you have all these Geekbench scores, it really doesn't mean anything, I don't
Yeah.
think, to the average user. It's just trying to, like with the automobiles, they say you can go 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. Well, that doesn't mean anything to us, because we're not going to buy a car that goes 0 to 60 in 2 seconds.
And there's nowhere to do that anyway. But
Right.
I like knowing that I could. For average users, especially the way the models are separating out the CPU cores and the GPU cores. Average use, you can kind of think of every app gets its own CPU core. So your Mail app gets a core. Your Safari app gets a core. And if you have multiple tabs open in Safari, each one gets a core. Especially with the M1, where you've got four GPU cores and eight CPU cores and 8 GPU cores. So there's 4 high performance cores for speed and 4 efficiency cores for low power, which is especially handy on the laptop. Usually something like that with 16 cores is more than enough for the average user. When you get up into, maybe I want to do a little bit of more photo editing, or I want to get into a little bit of video editing, then you sort of start looking at the 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pros, because you've got 8 CPU cores, 14 GPU cores on the M1 Pro, or you can go up to 10 CPU and 16 GPU. So a lot is based on the software you use. And if you're in Final Cut a lot, doing a lot of Final Cut video, then the more cores you give it, the faster it can go. So it's usually the way I like to say is every program you've got running gets its own core and can run as fast as possible without needing to slow down and wait for another app to do something. So if you don't have enough cores, your mail program starts downloading a big message, and your web browser gets slow because it can't process the web page as fast. But if they each get their own core, then they can each run at full speed. And that's what's kind of amazing about the M1 Ultra with 20 CPU cores and 32 GPU cores. That's just ridiculously fast for high-end audio and video editing. And the rumor is that the Mac Pro is going to get replaced with the M1 Ultra combined together. So the M1 Ultra is 2 M1 Maxes. But if you take 2 M1 Ultras, which is 4 M1 Maxes, and then you've got, let's call it M1 Extreme, and maybe that will be the Mac Pro, because right now even the M1 Ultra can keep up with and exceed the Xeon W in the Mac Pro for most of the benchmarks. So we're starting to see even now the M1 chip can keep up with a 2 or 3 year old Xeon, and the Mac Pro had that Xeon processor, which was not a regular desktop processor. That was a super fast workstation processor in the iMac Pro and the Mac Pro. So whatever comes after the M1 Ultra, whether it will be an M2 or M1 Extreme, we can try to guess what the next word will be just by doubling the cores again. And if you look at some of the real high-end video cards, it's not uncommon to have 128 cores on the video card, because you're trying to push 16 million pixels on your 5 or 8K screen at the very high end in gaming and video editing.
Is there a maximum that they can have of M1 Ultra chips? I mean, could they put in, let's say, 8 of them and connect them? In theory, they probably could,
Yeah.
but the heat would probably be pretty.
Eventually, you get to the point of diminishing returns where having more cores doesn't make things any faster. And only for specific apps, say like Photoshop or Final Cut, would having more cores work faster. Or more tracks. The other benchmark, a real world benchmark that Apple uses is Logic, which is their audio editor, and how many instrument streams you can have at once. And I think right now on the M1 you can have 99 streams. So 99 different instruments playing at the same time without slowing down, which is pretty good for most bands, let alone orchestras. But yeah, you're right. The benchmark scores don't mean a whole lot other than telling you this one is a little faster than that one at running the benchmark score. Yeah, so Geekbench is a very popular um, um, benchmarking program that runs certain tests. I like Cinebench myself for graphics tests because that's kind of cool watching them how it builds a graphic. You can actually see if you have an 8-core machine or a 16-core machine, it takes a single picture, cuts it down into 16 pieces, and one section of the picture might be less busy or have less detail than another section, so that little piece can run faster, and so that one finishes, and then it works on another piece. So that's the big thing with multi-core processing, is the software has to be able to manage the workload and be able to break up the thing into multiple pieces that can be worked on simultaneously.
What's kind of funny is after the M1 chip came out, Intel had all these different things saying how their chip, ran faster, probably in the multi-core, and they were advertising, "Oh, if you think Apple's good, look at our chip." Then all of a sudden, the Mac Studio comes out, and you haven't heard anything from Intel anymore.
It was always the one thing Apple talks about is price per watt. So even the Studio doesn't use that many watts of power, and some of the benchmarks that they showed and the graphs, if you continued that graph out, then yeah, the Intel machine would get faster, but at 2 or 3 times the wattage, which means more heat, more electricity, more noise, to offset that smaller footprint of the Apple. Yeah, so the Mac Studio runs 13 watts at idle, or 215 watts maximum. Where some of the big CPUs, even the Mac Pro has a 1,000-watt power supply in it, and some of the big Intel machines might have a 2,000-watt power supply. So you can really push up how fast the computers get by how much power you push through them. But then you have significant amounts of power. So that Mac Studio at 215 watts will do 734 BTUs per hour. So you can keep your desk warm. We had a lot of corporate customers like that. In the winter, they'll put their towers on the floor to keep their feet warm, and then in the summers they'll put it back up on the desk so they don't overheat their feet.
Or your lap.
Yeah. Yeah, long ago you haven't been able to put a laptop on your lap because it's too warm. We try to start using the different word of notebook or portable, because you really can't put it on your lap anymore. I have a cooling pad that I use. It's a passive pad to draw the heat away, so when I do want to put it on my lap, I can. But yeah, it's not very common to have a laptop on your lap.
Why are Apple laptops so hot and PC laptops aren't?
generally it's the other way around. The PC laptops run hotter because they're drawing more power. And the Apple
The
laptops, the
one-
fans are more efficient so that they can dissipate the heat faster. If you can feel the heat on the outside, that's good because it's pushing the heat away from the internal components.
I only ever had one PC back when I bought the app. I always had the Apple laptops, and then I bought the Apple desktop and the PC laptop because it was cheaper to buy those two than buy an Apple laptop. So I still had my Apple, but I got the PC laptop so I'd have something to carry around, which was a mistake because then it got a virus and whatever. But but it wasn't hot at all on my lap. It never got hot on my lap. The HP.
It probably had a very low-end processor in it, which is typical of PCs. So the slower it runs, the cooler it runs.
Okay, then that explains it. So just like put ice on your legs and put an ice pack in the fridge. Put it on your lap, put a towel down.
I don't know if I can show it on the camera here, right in my face. There are multiple different companies that make these types of pads, but it's a gel pad, and it will pull the heat away from the computer into the gel, and then when you turn your computer off, it will dissipate the heat back into the air. The most computers don't have very, very tall feet on them to let the heat flow from under the computer and be able to dissipate through the bottom of the computer. And the new Apple 14-inch has much taller feet on them. And we see a lot of computers in the shop where the feet have rubbed off because people will slide their computers around their desk and then the feet rub off. And then the aluminum is sitting right on the desk and there's no cooling option available because the airflow can't get around it. There's also active cooling pads like that have a fan built in that you plug into a USB port for more active cooling. But mostly that would be for people that need to push the more power out of their machine. If you're doing video editing on site, trying to edit the scene before the actors leave the stage, then you need it as fast as you can get. Anybody else have another question?
Well, my question is, are we actually in Q&A or are we in Apple News or what are we doing?
Kind of blurred together.
Okay, because I have
some rumors and now some questions. And
all right, I have three tiny little questions. Let me shift glasses so I can read them. One is on my iPad on iOS 15, down on the bottom, and I don't know if you call it a dock down there or what, but on the right-hand end are the things that I've used recently or something like that, which often includes Safari. And sometimes that Safari icon will have a little rectangle at the top right corner of it. And my vague understanding was that meant that somehow it had been connected with or shared with some other device. What does that mean?
Yeah, that might be the handoff icon. Handoff is a feature where you can open a website on your phone, and then when you get back home, your computer can open that same website on the bigger screen. And it's all of your devices that are signed into the same Apple ID. And I'm trying to see what the system requirements were for it. iOS 14 or later. And Apple Monterey or later can do AirPlay, auto unlock, camera. Each of the features can do different things. So handoff is Yosemite or later, and iOS 8 or later. And so it will show you, if you're on your iPad and you see you should see the icon in the dock will show you what the other device is. So if you're on your computer and then open your phone, you'll see a little phone icon on Safari, if you're on your phone and you see a little square, that's probably the Mac. Or if there's a wide device, then that would be your iPad. So you can have the same Safari window open on each device. So you can start reading, something on the small screen on your phone, and then jump up to the bigger screen on an iPad, or an even bigger screen on the computer.
Okay, now, as it happens, I have Safari open on my MacBook, and I have Safari open on my iPad. And just for grins, I will get rid of Safari on the iPad. And now I'm looking down there, and the Safari icon on the iPad is over in the left-hand end of things, the left of that dividing line.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not seeing any kind of little box on it. And on the MacBook, I was not seeing anything on the icon there. And I have not happened to notice this happening with the icon in the dock on the MacBook.
There are preferences on each device where you turn on or off handoff. In the Mac, it's under System Preferences and General, and on iDevices, it's under Settings, then General, and then AirPlay and Handoff.
Okay, so for example, right now on the MacBook, I'm in Preferences under General. Let me see if I see anything about handoff here.
Should be at the very bottom of the window. Allow handoff between this Mac and iCloud devices.
It is there, and it is checked. So, I mean, maybe that allows the handoff, but it just doesn't happen. Know it.
Well, and then on your iPhone and iPad, go into Settings and allow handoff on each of those devices too.
Settings General on the iPad.
I wonder if I can do this.
AirPlay and handoff. Handoff is turned on. Okay. All right. I mean, this isn't a killer. I just, if it's a case of something going on with one of my devices where I kind of wish I was just a teeny bit less ignorant about it.
Yep.
But not happening right now.
So I've got my phone sharing into Zoom. That's pretty sneaky. So in the settings, and then General, and then AirPlay and Handoff. And so Handoff lets you start something on one device and pick it up on another device. So I can open a Safari window on my phone and go to my iPad into Safari and open that same window in a larger screen. Yeah. So each device can be turned on and off separately.
Right. Okay. I wonder whether I would. My problem is that I would need to open another tab in Safari on, let's say, the iPad. I'll do that for grins right now. See if anything automatically shows up. Nothing shows up. I mean, it's there, but that's just start page. All right, never mind.
See if I can get mine to do the same thing. Yeah, because my computer's not on. Well, I can turn it on. I haven't even turned my computer on from being off the trip. Yeah, so now I see it on my iPad. I see the icons that shows me my iPhone screen.
You see the icon now. Is this the kind of thing I was talking about, where there's that little rectangle at the upper right corner of the Safari icon? Yep. And that's on your iPad?
Yeah, it's supposed to look like a little phone. On my iPad, it looks like a little phone. So since I don't have my computer on yet, it doesn't show that yet. So the square is probably the tab on your computer.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, you don't need to spend a hell of a lot more time on this now that I know that it presumably involves handoff, and I can play with that or look into that a little more. Because this sort of goes to another question I have, I think. God, I wish I knew what I was doing. And our next question is mine. On the iPad, there is an icon on the home screen or whatever you call it for tips, the little light bulb thing.
Mm-hmm.
How do I find tips on the MacBook? Or is it just use help?
No, I'm pretty sure there is a separate tips app. Probably in applications.
Okay, so in other words, I would have to
Let's
go
see.
through Finder or something to applications and look for something that says tips.
Yeah. And normally there's an option for um, um, showing a tip every time you turn the computer on. And quite frequently we turn that off really fast because it's annoying after a while. Let's see.
Okay, I
Nope.
can browse around.
I
and
don't
have
see
to-
it on the computer.
Yeah, actually,
Maybe
what
on the computer it may come from the help app.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking is I just have to use the help app because I use the search feature and is to put in tips, and it didn't get me anywhere on the MacBook. Yeah, oh, gosh, Steve's with us 3 times now.
So I'll get my iPad in too. Tips and tricks.
Hey, Steve.
Yep.
I've got an old flip phone that they're going to discontinue 3G on it
Yep.
in July. And I really like the plan on it because it's a T-Mobile plan and I just pay for minutes and I can roll them every year. And I only use it for like emergency situations and stuff. But because they're doing this, that flip phone is going to become a piece of junk. And so I was contemplating perhaps using Carol's old iPhone 6. I was wondering if you see any issues with that at all.
I believe the 6 will not work also.
Well, it's a 4G.
Not exactly. There was some because we had a customer come in where they got a letter from AT&T. I think it was AT&T that their iPhone 6 was too old because it didn't support one of the frequencies that the 6S did. Let's see, what was it? iPhone 6. Yeah, I forget exactly which frequency it was. But I'm pretty sure the 6 got caught in that 3G network retiring. But the 6S is okay. Or maybe not. I just found another message where they said the 6S will not work also. And it has to be a 7. Oh, it's the VoLTE technology. So voice over LTE rather than voice over CDMA. So that's probably why the 6 and the 6S won't work, is they don't support VoLTE.
VoLTE.
My 6S Plus works.
Not after June. It may not.
Well, that's that's AT&T that you're quoting. I'm going through T-Mobile.
I was on the T-Mobile help site too. All of the carriers are shutting down their 3G networks.
Yeah. So how is it that when I look at the specs on the iPhone 6, it says that it's 4G.
It is LTE, but it doesn't support VoLTE for 3G.
Sorry.
So I guess AT&T already shut down their 4G or their 3G network, and
Yeah.
T-Mobile and Sprint are going to. Let me see if I can find where Verizon did it. Well, now here on AT&T support says the 6 and later will work.
But is that on their network?
On the AT&T network, yes.
Mhm.
Because I went through that change because I have a prepaid AT&T flip phone or feature phone, whatever, and they like totally botched the rollout on that thing at the end of last year. They, I try to phone somebody, and the only thing it would do would automatically go to customer service, and
Yeah.
and spent a couple of weeks without cell phone service because they just like totally mishandled it. And now that's passed, and I've got a new phone, and it's presumably 4G, yada yada. But
Sprint and T-Mobile are both shutting down 3G on June 30th. I'm trying to find about iPhone 6. So that's AT&T. Verizon is shutting down 3G in December.
Which does track phone run on?
And NVMO, is it? What's their...
Does that mean the burner phones won't work anymore?
They will, they just have to support the right protocols. They have to be newer burner phones.
Guess there'll be a lot of drug deals gone bad.
Yeah.
sorry, Carol, what was that?
I said, I guess there'll be a lot of drug deals gone bad.
Yeah, really. And my question is it actually safe to burn those phones or not?
Yeah, it's probably toxic. So TrackPhone uses all three different networks, depending on which phone you have.
That's helpful. Wait, can I look in my settings and see?
No, you'd probably have to look in the specs in the manual. It might tell you in settings what your cellular connection is.
So should I even try to get this iPhone 6 to work with T-Mobile then? And hoping that 4G is good enough and it'll work?
I would check with a T-Mobile corporate store rather than just any cell store that carries T-Mobile. I would expect the corporate store to know better.
Which would be a corporate store.
Right. So you'd have to look online and find where the corporate stores are.
Rich, I will tell you that, or Rick, I'm sorry, that I did some business with T-Mobile, and it's the other side of the county from you. It's in Grease Ridge Mall, but there's a guy named Kenny Pike, and he was very knowledgeable. Point one. Point two was he was one of these nice people who, when he doesn't know, says, "I don't know." So, you might, I phone that store and see if Kenny Pike is there in Long Ridge. Grease Ridge, and if not, where else he might be.
See, we went to the T-Mobile store out in Pittsford Plaza, which is why I was wondering if that's a corporate store. There's no point.
Yeah, I'm just suggesting this guy is a.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Charlie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm seeing stuff on T-Mobile's website. People are saying they're getting different answers depending on who they call. iPhone
Mhm.
5, definitely no. 6 and 6S, maybe. 7 and later, yes.
Mhm.
So the 6 and 6S is that transition model.
Hmm.
Um, Wait until then and see what happens. Or that, yeah, then you'll lose your phone completely during the transfer. It's you probably will want to get the new phone working before the old phone shuts off.
Yep.
If at any convenient point, I have a couple of other little mini questions.
And I'm looking at the spec list on the 6 as to what networks it supports, and there's so many of them. And it's hard, I don't know exactly what the carriers mean by shutting down 3G.
Hmm. Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at too.
Yes, 3G's on 4 different bands with 3 different carriers or protocols: UTMS, HSPA, HSDPA.
Does GSM mean anything anymore or not?
That's 3G,
Okay.
Global Service for Mobile Communication.
So
So
that was-
GSM was big in the rest of the world, global. In
Right.
the U.S., we had 2 competing standards. GSM was AT&T and T-Mobile, and CDMA was Verizon and Sprint. And so they were competing standards. And then when 4G came out, everybody went to LTE. So it made it
How
a
much
lot,
are SIM cards? Do you know?
usually free.
Okay.
Made it a lot easier on the consumers when you didn't have to worry about buying a T-Mobile phone and then you switch to AT&T and it works, and you switch to Sprint and it doesn't work because of the GSM CDMA mess. It was nice when everything switched to LTE.
Mhm. Okay, so it sounds like try it and see if it works, and if it doesn't,
Yeah.
get a new phone.
Is there a kind of a grace period at the end of that anyway that you can switch over without losing your phone number on it, Rick?
Probably.
Yeah, I'm at the point where it's the end of the year, and if I'm gonna roll my minutes, I got to do that and roll the plan.
I see. And if you change plans, you couldn't keep the minutes even with the same carrier?
Um, I might
Most-
be able to. I'm not sure.
Yeah, most of the plans these days are unlimited minutes, and so nothing has to roll over. So I'm sure they would really like to upgrade you to a new plan.
I'm sure they would, but I don't want to do that. It's a lot cheaper for me to be where I am. I
I've
pay
been
$10 a month or $10
How
a year
much?
for. I only spend $10 a year for my minutes, and I just use the phone for emergencies. So
$10 a year?
yeah,
But that's no
And-
data.
There's no data and very
That's
no
very
data.
little voice.
that's just voice, and it's just for a few minutes, and it's enough for me because I only use it for emergency situations.
Yeah, right.
The rest of the time I have Wi-Fi available to me usually, and I use that instead.
Do you
I
get
can-
texts?
Yeah, I get texts.
Well, you can, but you don't. You don't very often. That's why it's only 10
Yeah.
$10 a year, because you don't use the phone very much.
That's right.
We can never call you because your phone's always off.
That's right.
Got to call the house.
Yeah, call a house, call a landline.
See, that's what you should do: is transfer your business line, business phone number to your cell phone, and then it's a business expense.
Yeah, but I only pay $50 a year for my landline, so
Is that through Spectrum or something, Rick?
that's through Magic Jack.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Yeah,
sort of a landline.
Yeah,
It's
cheaper
it's
than
VoIP.
anything else.
It's VoIP, yeah.
Yeah.
So that
But-
depends on your internet being up to be able to use it, right?
Yeah, but so what? You know,
When the internet's down, you can't do much of anything anyway.
well, yeah, you know, then I use my emergency cell phone and call out. Say, hey, there's a problem with my internet.
Okay, can you take my couple piddling little questions here?
Yeah, sure.
All right, on my MacBook Pro, which is going on 5 years old now, almost vintage. I noticed that it seems to me like I have to press harder on the trackpad to click. And I went into preferences and I actually lowered the pressure required. But is it possible that simply as the computer ages, the trackpad does that?
Sounds like a swelling battery.
Yeah, more likely it's the battery is starting to swell and push up on the bottom of the trackpad, so you can't push the trackpad down. Turn the computer over and take a straight edge or a ruler and see if the bottom case is still perfectly straight. Because sometimes it will bulge at the top and bottom, sometimes just one or the other.
Well, by top, you mean the keyboard side, and bottom, you mean the bottom.
Yeah.
All right, I will do that.
Nope, and I just checked. I've got my Mac open with Safari, and on my iPad, the Safari icon has a little tiny Mac on it.
Okay. All right, well, I think my last one here then is, and this is funny, when I'm using the MacBook, down on the right-hand side of the dock, there's a line there that normally has, well, to the right of it, it's got documents and downloads and trash. And somewhere in there, while I'm using the Mac, another icon will appear and then disappear. And the problem is that I actually only notice it when it's disappearing. So any guesses as to what that might be?
It's probably in the recent section of the dock. So on the left-hand side of that dock are icons that stay there. Even when the application quits, the icon stays.
Right.
And then in the center section of the dock are recent apps, and normally that will show you the 3 most recent apps. And when the app quits, the icon goes away. And then in the right section is your documents and stuff, documents and folder icons that you keep in the dock. So it's something that's launching and quitting. And so because it's quitting, you're not seeing it in the dock anymore.
Right. But probably nothing to worry about. It's just the machine doing its thing.
Yeah.
But it's just funny. I thought maybe if you were familiar with it.
Any idea what color it is? Does it say on long?
Yeah,
Pardon?
white.
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 Okay.
Like for example, the file info professional icon down there is what I would call white. It's just great writing on white. Don't waste a lot of time on it. It's not probably of much interest to anybody.
Yeah, if you can catch it open sometime, click and hold on it. Then
Well, yeah. I would. I mean, and I do that a lot. It's sort of like when I'm using the MacBook, I'm sitting there with like a big butterfly net or something mentally, because if for any reason I manage to get an app open that doesn't normally have an icon on the dock, I try to grab the thing and put the icon on the dock so that the next time I want to try to find it, I can.
Yep.
All right. And I will ask one last quick question of not only you, but the general membership here. Does anybody use the Stickies app?
I used to use it a lot. Then I changed to the Notes app.
Yeah. I just accidentally, I don't remember what I was poking around in Finder and looking for some other app or something like that. I must have been in applications, and I saw the Stickies thing, and so I opened it up and I looked at the help about it, the instructions, and it was kind of neat, but I haven't had much success using it. So I end up using an actual paper sticky note. In my case, the reason I do this is that my external hard drive is plugged into the same power strip as the MacBook, and when I finish using the MacBook in the evening, I shut off that power strip and let the battery cycle just a teeny bit. And sometimes I've done a backup, and so I've had that external hard drive open, and I forget to eject it. So I have to like use some kind of reminder to eject it before I turn that power off.
Yep. I just opened my
I used
Stickies app. Well, I switched to Notes because it syncs between devices, which is real handy. But I just
Yeah.
opened the Stickies app, and there's instructions for setting up the recording to Ustream back in the day. So that's what, 10 years? How long have we been on YouTube that we switched off of Ustream?
God, I don't know. All right, folks. Well, I'm going to disappear from the picture for a moment here because I am about to use a large clipboard edge to see if my MacBook Pro has a bulging belly. See you soon.
Yeah.
I have questions.
Yep.
Okay, first question. How do I screen mirror this to my TV? Why I never thought to do that before until you started sharing your phone earlier. I'm like, wait, why don't I share this to my TV? But I can't get it to work.
It
What do I
depends
do?
on your phone and your TV. You can plug an HDMI cable from the phone to the TV if your TV has an HDMI input. You can use Apple TV's AirPlay if you have an Apple TV box connected to your television. Or you can use Google's Chromecast if you have a Chromecast box connected to your television. Or if it's a new enough TV, smart TV that has AirPlay or Chromecast built in, then you can do it that way as well. Chromecast only works in Chrome browser, but AirPlay works in all apps. So it depends on what the TV has built into it.
Well, I have an Apple TV on it. So when I go to screen mirroring, it's not showing up though.
Is the Apple TV on and running and connected to the network?
Yeah.
Is the phone connected to the same network? I'm trying to type a password here.
It should be. I watch TV on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll
what
change
we
it.
sometimes see is one of the devices will get connected to the guest network, and then so it can't see the Apple TV.
I think she said
I
she's
lost you.
looking for screen sharing. Shouldn't she be looking for AirPlay?
It used to be called AirPlay, and then they changed the name to screen mirroring, and then they changed it to it's just two little squares overlapping each other instead of having any name at all. And when you tap on that icon, it comes up as screen mirroring to the Apple TV.
Do I have to have the Apple TV set on any app or just open?
Just on and running and connected to the network.
Because I've done it before. I've used it.
Yeah, mine isn't showing my Apple TV because I know it's not turned on.
Well, mine is turned on, but I don't see where you find the screen mirroring.
In the control strip. So on the phone, you swipe up from the bottom. On the iPad, you swipe down from the top right. Or on Face ID phones, it's the top right. They keep moving where the control center is on each round of phones.
Oh, well, I've got the control center.
Let me go back to sharing my device again. And then there's two little squares on top of each other. Okay, so if I swipe on my phone, if I swipe up from the bottom, I get the control center. And then on the left-hand side, I have a screen mirroring icon. And then when I tap on that, it looks on the network for all of the Apple TVs that it can see.
See, that's what I'm getting. It's just sitting there forever.
My Apple
The
TV is
remote's
not
working.
turned on.
The remote's working. So, so it's recognizing the remote from the iPhone, but it's not doing the screen mirroring.
me see if I can find it on my Mac. It's a different icon yet on your computer. Yeah, show mirroring when available. Yeah, so since my Apple TV is not on, it's not seeing it. Hello. Well, let me go turn the Apple TV on and see if I can get it working. Hang on a minute.
Hey, oh, what is that?
Guess we're doing Easter?
For us. Give me Matthew. I come over. It was a good price, and I got it.
What is that volume thing?
Should let
How
you
is
set the
that
volume.
different? The volume on that menu, is that the same volume that's on the side of the phone? Because I use my side of the phone buttons, and that volume one was all the way down on the menu thing. What do you call that? The menu thing.
I see there is a YouTube video that tells you how to do it.
Yeah, so now that my Apple TV is on, it had just finished an update. That's, I think, why it wasn't showing yet. So now I can tell my phone to mirror to the Apple TV. Unable. I was also thinking maybe Zoom has got something where it's taking control of the screen, so you can't screen out and screen in at the same time. Let me try
I
it.
did find, Steve, there is a YouTube video that tells how to do it.
Well,
Yeah, I've
this
noticed
is
that
how to do
Zoom
it.
does take things over. Zoom is bad that way.
Yeah, Zoom assumes the microphone and camera and sharing and streaming are it. Yeah, so now my iPad, where I'm not sharing the screen, with Zoom, I can share the screen to the Apple TV. So now I can hear myself out in the other room on the Apple TV.
Yeah, I think I shared a Zoom meeting before from a different meeting because I had to read stuff.
But not while I'm sharing my screen. You can share the Zoom meeting, but not while you're sharing your screen.
Not while you're sharing it with me, or not while I'm sharing mine with you.
When you are sharing your screen into Zoom, you can't also share your screen into your Apple TV.
Oh. So if I turn off my video, will I be able to?
Maybe. Oh, we might as well jump into some of the iOS 15 tips that that we were going to talk about tonight. The control strip or control center has a lot of quick things that are kind of handy to get to. You got your screen brightness and your volume, device volume. But one of the neat things is the flashlight icon. So now you have a flashlight. Can I turn it? Yeah, there we go. I can shine a flashlight on me. Whee! So that was one of the ironies in the first few years of the App Store, is how many people wrote flashlight apps.
Yes. I remember.
Yeah. There's a quick calculator app to jump to the calculator. The camera app jumps you into the camera. So especially if you don't have, the camera on the, can I get myself in here twice? If you don't have the camera on the front page of your phone, or the calculator, some of the more common apps, if you don't actually have them right on your front page, then it's handy to go into the control strip. You've got an Apple TV icon in the bottom left, and so that is an Apple TV remote. So if you can't find your physical remote, you can use the remote in your phone as an Apple TV remote. And my little recording light is blinking because I have Zoom is recording the screen, so it's warning me that it's being recorded. And then there's some neat icons for reading an NFC tag. So similar to a QR code, if you hold your camera up in front of a QR code, it can open the link that it's displaying. And if you're using Apple Pay to pay at a terminal, then it automatically reads the NFC tag. But there are also places that will put an NFC tag, like a coupon shelf or something. And you can use that icon to bring up the NFC reader so that you can see what that NFC tag has.
Question, Steve.
Yep.
I don't have an iPhone. I have an iPad. And in one of the previous meetings, you mentioned that I didn't need to download a QR code reader to the iPad. It just, in iOS 15, it would just do it automatically. Do I just have to open the camera app and point it at the QR code, or what?
Yep. And center. No, that's interesting. On my iPad, I have a QR code reader, and on the iPhone, I have an NFC reader. There's a rectangle that shows up on the camera screen, and you center the QR code in that rectangle, and it will read the QR code and let you open the link that the QR code is pointing to.
So do you like tap the button like you would to take a picture?
No, just point it there, and then the link will open up. It's usually a notification that Safari wants to open.
Okay.
Let me see if I can mimic that with my camera here. Let me open a QR code on the iPad. And so on the mirrored, yep, I'm still mirroring that. So here's a QR code of QR codes. So if I point to that, you see how the little yellow rectangle is bouncing around?
Yeah.
So it's finding the QR code. And what it should then do is pop up a message at the top asking if I want to open that link.
So what you got now is the
It's not.
camera app open on the iPhone, right?
Yeah. Pointing to a QR code on the iPad. Let me go into the actual code and see if that works better. No. I wonder if it's because Zoom is doing something with the camera too.
Oh, yeah.
Let me try it the other way. On the phone, let's bring up a QR code. No, not a QR scanner, QR code.
If you're using your camera, can you just use the QR code reader app at the same time?
You can, but you don't need to because the camera has a QR code reader built in.
Yeah.
But if you're
So now on my iPad, I'm trying to point to the QR code. Yeah, and the iPad it worked. So it must be Zoom again. So you point to the QR code with your camera, and it will let you open that link in Safari.
By tapping the button you would normally tap
No,
to take the picture.
just pointing to the QR code.
Okay.
I do use another program called ScanDit because it can scan a lot more than just QR codes. So I can do 2D codes and 3D codes. A lot of the Apple service parts come with really tiny dot codes. And one of the really neat things that handoff, going back to the handoff feature, Charlie, let me, well, let's go back to this QR code. Maybe I can do it this way. QR code. That when I copy and paste, see, there we go. So that happened so quick, you couldn't even see it. So I'm going to go back and say QR code. And then I'm going to point to the QR code, and
It's so fast.
and it automatically read the link. One of the neat things you can do with handoff is I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to open it. I wanted to tap on it. And I can copy on my phone and paste on my computer or my iPad because I'm logged into the same Apple ID. That's also part of the handoff feature. So we do that a lot now, trying to scan service part serial numbers that are too small for the computer scanner to read, but it works fine for the ScanDit camera reader. And this was a free app that we found that does all sorts of different QR codes. But for a straight QR code, you can use your camera app directly.
All right.
But when did they add that? It's going to be the question. So let's go into Safari and ask. iOS QR code reader. So I don't want to find an actual app. I want to find out when they added it to iOS. That's going to be tricky because there we go, the Apple Tech Note. We can see what version of iOS they added it to. Doesn't say. But the app is the Tech Note is published December 21, or September 21, so it's probably iOS 15, maybe 14. So that's one way to do it.
Can I disrupt things here for a moment with another point about that? Excuse me, that trackpad pressure / swollen battery problem.
Yeah.
Using the clipboard edge and also using a ruler. It seems at the bottom of my MacBook Pro may be bulging slightly. Either one, the ruler, whatever, seems to be flush with the bottom until you get to maybe about 1.5 inches or so from the sides. And I suspect there's actually maybe some natural curvature there, even initially.
Only at the very edge should the bottom case be curved.
Okay, so what hours is your shop open?
10 to 6 weekdays. What year was your computer again?
It was made in 2017.
After February? Because there's a free battery recall replacement option available.
But only if it's before February or after.
Before February. Well, it's primarily. Um, you can go to the Apple website for 15-inch battery recall and type in your serial number, and it will let you know if you're eligible.
So that would be February of 2017.
Yeah, it says the known defective batteries were sold primarily between September 2015 and February 2017.
All right, so you have to check by the serial number. So the other thing is, do you still have to use appointments to come to your store, or can you just walk in?
We would prefer, if you're going to do a service, to fill out a service request form on our website.
All right.
Services still drop off.
Is that something? Is that something that would take less than a week or so?
Yeah, it's usually 2 or 3 business days.
Okay, fine. I'll wait until after the board meeting next week, and then yeah, I'll check into this stuff. But I want to bring it in because I don't want this thing to catch fire.
Well, it doesn't do that, but it keeps swelling and swelling. So what basically is happening is the way lithium batteries age. In fact, I can probably find the animation of it. There's the anode and the cathode, the positive section and the negative section. And as the battery is being used, it grows little dendrites. And eventually the plus and minus, there's an interesting picture. Eventually the plus and the minus will touch across the electrolyte. And so when plus and minus are touching, you've got a short circuit, and it, in essence, boils the electrolyte, generates gas, which then swells the battery cell.
So do you have to, would that mean if there's any swelling at all that those electrodes have touched?
Yes, but there's thousands and thousands of electrodes between the electrolyte. So it's
Okay.
a little bit of swelling isn't bad. Eventually, it can swell so much that the trackpad stops pushing completely. What you can do in your settings is turn on tap to click. Then you don't have to push it at all.
Yeah, that's a good point, except that my fingers will probably end up tapping a lot of things I don't want them to. I already noticed that sometimes when I'm trying to do it, I'll have like my middle finger pressing on the trackpad, and one of the outer fingers will just graze it, and so it does something different than what I wanted.
Yep.
Now, I just looked at it also in coconut battery.
Yeah.
Will coconut battery, when it talks about the condition of the battery, will it give you any hints about the problem or not?
Yes, it will. It will tell you that there's a problem. The Apple battery menu will also say service battery if there's a
Okay.
problem.
All right.
Unfortunately, battery replacement's about $400 parts and labor. Because the battery is basically glued to the top case. The entire top case assembly is replaced. So it's the keyboard, the trackpad, the top case, the speakers, the microphone, the battery.
Holy stuff.
Yeah. I was hoping that had a video.
So as long as I can put up with this without having a fire for a while, I think I'll do that.
Yeah. What can also happen eventually is if the bottom swells too much, then it will rock. If it swells more than the foot is, the computer won't lay flat anymore.
Well, that's a kind of a nice quick test.
Yep. But yeah, but it has to swell more than the battery, more than the feet already push out.
Right. Well, I don't think the feet are. No, the feet aren't much on this thing. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
If they're a millimeter, I'd be surprised.
So there's a big thing in material science to right now. Batteries have a liquid electrolyte. and so your lithium ion atoms, bounce through that liquid electrolyte. There are batteries being developed that have a solid electrolyte, so that they cannot have a problem. And one of the things that the solid electrolytes also does is it reduces the fire and explosion hazard to near zero. If you punch a hole in your battery, it'll probably catch fire. And one of the examples we saw in the solid electrolyte is they took a pair of scissors and started cutting pieces of the battery off. And the computer kept running fine. The battery life kept decreasing as pieces of that battery were removed. So in essence, the battery was getting smaller, so that the life was lowering. But coming up with new materials, new capacitance, if we can revolutionize the battery, the battery industry. So even electric cars generally have like 1,000 computer batteries in them, and that's how they store power. So if we can come up with a battery method, that would work good too.
Just to refresh my memory here, you said the battery replacement would cost how many $100?
About 400.
Now that's interesting because this MacBook Pro that I have is of the era where they did the stupid butterfly switch thing that screwed up by cookie crumbs.
Yep. So if you say your keys don't work and your computer is less than 4 years old, you get a free top case for the keyboard, and that includes a free battery.
Yeah, well, I don't qualify because it's too old.
It's more than 4 years?
Yeah, it is. Well, it was made in 2017.
Well, it's when you bought it is the key, not when it was made.
Okay, that was 2018. Okay, so that's interesting. Because when that first problem with the cookie crumb problem came out, the figure that I saw was something like $700 to replace that whole top panel with the keyboard and everything else that was stuck to it.
That's probably what Apple calls their stock price. If you return the old top case assembly, you get a discount. So it's a core charge sometimes. Like you buy a new car battery, if you give me your old battery back, you get a $30 discount back.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
I have a follow-up.
Yeah.
I just remembered when I screen mirrored that other Zoom meeting, that was from my SE, which has iOS 15, and I'm on the 6S Plus, which has 14, and it didn't let me mirror from this phone. Is it a 14, 15 thing or a phone thing?
It could be a 14 on the phone and whatever OS is on the Apple TV.
So 14 might not work with the mirroring on the Apple TV.
If the OS on the Apple TV is too new or too old.
I got the Apple TV like around like August or September.
Yeah, it depends on what OS updates it's run. You might have to have 15 on the phone to go in with the TV OS on the Apple TV.
14 versus 15. My SE also has the what do you call it? The menu? What do you call address bar? What do you call it? On the bottom where on my 6S Plus.
Yeah, in Safari. Yeah, that's a preference that you can change.
Okay, so that's not an iOS. That's a preference. Okay.
Well, it's a preference in iOS. Yes. Let me.
So if I upgrade my 6S Plus to 15, will my bar still be on the top?
It's a preference. You can choose whether you want it on the top or the bottom. Let me go back to my phone and stream the phone again. And settings and Safari. All right, and where did they hide it? Yeah, whether you want the tabs at the bottom. They call it the tab bar. So it's your tabs and address bar. You can put the tab bar at the bottom, or you can put it at the top. So they added that as a preference.
And how did
They
you
might
get
have-
there?
In settings under Safari. They might have added it in a 14 update. No, and 15 is when they changed it to a preference. So in 14 it's only at the bottom, and 15 you can choose whether you want the bottom or the top.
And 14 is at the top.
Yeah, so they call it, you have a tab bar or you have a single tab. So when I go back into Safari, it shows me my buttons and I can bring up my open tabs. But that's at the bottom of the screen. Or if I change that to be a single tab at the top of the screen, so now the address bar is at the top of the screen and my tab settings are at the bottom of the screen. I've kind of gotten used to it at the bottom.
I can't get used to it at the bottom. I hate it, but that could be because I'm used to it being at the top, which I use more. But I hate it.
It's been on the top from the beginning, and whoever decided moving it to the bottom was better, that's very subjective.
It just like merges with everything else. It's
Yeah.
so easy to head everything else.
I don't mind if they make a change, but at least make it a preference so I can change it back if I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the whole reason I haven't upgraded to 15 because I was afraid I would. I can't stand it at the bottom. Dumb reason, but now I can upgrade. Then I can screen
Just-
mirror.
Yeah. Just in time for 16 to come out this fall.
And just in time for my phone to not work anymore, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't actually use. Wait, how come sometimes when the phone rings, it brings up the phone screen and I can answer it, and sometimes it just brings up a banner, and when I click on it, it calls it instead of answering it.
You have to click on the hang up or answer button in the right hand corner.
The right-hand corner
It's-
of the banner.
Yeah. It was a feature they added. Okay. What did I just do? I locked up my Safari? No, I locked up my Zoom. Is anyone hearing me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. I turned on a screen capture. I don't know how that happened. There we go. So iPhone call answer. They changed it to be a notification rather than going to full screen, because it used to be when the phone rang, you lost the application you were in and it jumped you to full screen. So they now have changed that to be a preference. So under settings, under phone, you can uncheck full screen.
No, I want full screen because I can't answer the banner. I can't because I can't answer it.
Well, you have to. Let me see if I can bring up an image. You have to hit it, push it in the right place. So this is the hang up, and this is the answer.
Which I'm on the tiny little phone. Hold on.
Let me bring up that.
I'm
Yes.
zooming out.
Yeah. So the green phone handset icon will answer the call. The red hang up icon will hang up the call.
Oh no, I don't get that. I don't get those.
What do you get?
Just a little menu saying incoming call and the number. It doesn't give me the red and green thing. And then I hit the bar and it brings up the full screen and calls it. But the interesting thing is when it brings up the little, only brings up the little banner thing, it's usually like telemarketing type calls, or when it's a friend, it usually brings up full screen.
You must have your notifications set differently based on the contact. Because full screen mode covers everything you're doing and shows you the full screen, and not full screen mode shows you a notification at the top.
Yeah, I don't get the little red and green thing.
Yeah, then you must be in full screen mode.
I just get the little
And
notification.
there's a slide to answer. So that's a setting in iOS 14 that you can change. And the settings under phone, under incoming calls, you can toggle whether you want it to be full screen or not.
Okay. I keep living in fear. I was afraid to use it as my phone because I can't answer it. I'm like, if I make this my main phone, I won't know how to answer it.
Yeah, it should answer by clicking the answer icon.
Like if it did one thing all the time, then I would figure out there's got to be a way to change it. But since sometimes it's one and sometimes the other, I'm completely confused.
That you set that up in your contacts. You can have
Take a screenshot. Take a screenshot so you'll have something to compare.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
So what happens when you decline a call? What does the calling person hear when you decline a call? Does it tell them the person declined it, or
it stops ringing.
stops ringing? Okay.
It should send you to voicemail. So that's kind of, I've seen memes about that. So if it goes ring 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 voicemail, then that means no one answered. If it goes ring ring voicemail, that means they declined. And if it goes straight to voicemail, that means they're on the phone.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why I never decline calls, because I don't want them to know I did it.
Well, telemarketers is all the computer anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I have my incoming calls set to full screen, but it still brings them up as banners.
You must have something else set differently then. I know you can set specific contacts to have a custom ringtone and a custom ring format.
I don't have any contacts because I don't really use it as a phone. Unless it just recognizes people that have called me before or something.
Yeah, those are recent calls in your contact list.
So Steve, it's about 10 of 9. Do we want to take a quick break and then come back and do iOS 15?
Oh, I did take a break, and we are doing iOS 15.
Oh, yeah, you took a break. Nobody else did.
I took 2 or 3 breaks.
You can find a lot of things in settings to change things back the way they used to be. Sometimes it's a update. So 14.0 changed, the banner, but 14.1 gives you a preference so you can change it back to the way it was. Yeah, if you decline a call, it sends it to voicemail.
So does that come back to the general rule of thumb of don't upgrade to 0.0, wait for 0.1?
Yep. Yeah, let someone else find the problems.
There you
go. Do we need to do we need to take a break for the other people? Although we're not, nothing's stopping you from getting up and walking away anyway.
Question, Doug, were you doing a presentation tonight or?
No, he was doing May.
In May. Okay.
May.
Yeah.
Well, I want to take a break, but I don't want to miss anything.
Well, How about we just talk about
don't
dumb
worry.
stuff until Rick comes back?
So we'll all talk about Rick while he's gone.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, hell
Let's talk about something Rick doesn't like. Okay.
Talk about sports.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't
How
like
about those
sports much.
peeps, Carol?
I hope your sports
The
team is doing the
Peeps.
sports ball that you expect them to do.
No, Carol, tell me about the peeps.
It was a bigger show than last time they had one.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you
They
have a box?
I did not. I didn't have time to do it. I was doing other things, so I didn't have time to make one.
Well, those
But
pictures were cute.
I volunteered and helped out. That's about
Okay.
it.
Well, the pictures were cute.
Yeah,
I wish
so-
I'd been.
And they're going to do it next year. Every year they keep, they keep saying not going to do it anymore. It's the last one, and then it's like, oh, maybe we should do it again.
Well, that's because they get a lot of people.
Yeah, they got a lot. It was really, really cool, and a lot of people showed up.
So I could see if they, didn't have as many people, and they'd say, well, see, we're not getting anybody, so we'll just not do it. But that's not happening. Every year it gets better and better, right?
I found this several different websites on crazy uses for peeps. Float them in your hot cocoa instead of a marshmallow.
Peeps infused vodka.
Yep.
You can just munch on those.
Make a peeps house with graham crackers. Make a diorama. Potpourri
just
centerpieces.
Well, that's what Carol said. There's a big peep show where everybody uses all sorts of innovative ways and like dioramas to show peeps doing all sorts of things.
Most of their things are displays, using peeps to create displays.
A pincushion. Or stop your table from wiggling.
Ugh.
Oh, there you go. I like that. Put it under your
That
chair.
would be good because it would squish right down to the size you need.
Yeah.
Boots for your cat. There. What do you think of that, Shirley?
Boots for your
Boots.
cat.
How long
My
would that
cat's-
last?
That would last a total of 10 seconds.
10
If that.
seconds.
Where you let them dry out and then they're cat toys.
No, I like them to get nice and hard and then eat them.
An ant attractant. Why spend money on chemical-laden attractants
Oh my
for
God.
your ant traps when you can use chemical-laden peeps?
No, don't use this if you have small children in your household that might try to eat them.
Buy them on sale after Easter and wait till next year. Who's gonna care? Here you
I
go.
like
Bjork,
that dress.
Oh, that's
Bjork
cute.
made a peeps dress.
Now that I could see. That looks cute.
Yes. looks-
See, I can't eat all this crappy candy because I'm a vegetarian. Like I can't eat marshmallow because it has gelatin. I didn't even know candy corn had gelatin in it. I can't. So, I bought some last Halloween and then I just read the package like later and I was like, oh my God, it has gelatin. And I ate almost all the package.
Well, at least it tasted good before you discovered it, right?
And I can never eat it again.
Lewis Black has a routine on candy corn where it's not candy and it's not corn. Oh, Peeps treats,
Nothing.
Rice Krispie treats,
Oh no, that's kind of cute.
Jello shots.
Eh,
Hey, the Peeps infused vodka, yeah. Fill a mason jar and then fill it with vodka and let it sit for 2 to 3 hours.
ooh, all that sugar.
Yeah,
And it'll give it color too.
yeah.
Yep, from the dye.
Push peep, s'mores,
Yeah, I could see that.
chocolate chip cookies.
Oh no, I could see
Popcorn.
that too. And popcorn. Those would be good things.
Super skillet. Okay.
Torching the poor Pete. Now that looks cool. The ghost some more dip.
Yeah. Everyone has a braising torch, right?
And chocolate covered peeps. Now that would be good too.
Yes, I do.
S'mores trifle.
milkshake, candy bars. Yeah, see, it would lend itself towards candy bars and bark. I could see that because it's
Jello cups.
got that marshmallows, kind of melty kind of thing. Hey, Carol, I can make some candied yams and put some peeps on top.
There you go.
Right? It's the marshmallows, right? Poor peeps as they're being tortured and melted.
Put them in your microwave. They do cute things.
Yeah, blow up.
Oh, it's not going to let me do it. I'm trying to put my phone up against the camera, but it won't. It's not
I
picking it up.
won't see it. Oh, your peep picture.
Yeah.
I could send it to Steve, the picture you sent me, and see if he could do something with it.
You could share it yourself.
I don't know how to do it. Oh, where is it?
Peeps eyeglass cleaner? Wouldn't that
Yeah.
make it worse? No, not marshmallow Peeps, just an eyeglass cleaner from Peeps.
That would be cute.
Cthulhu.
Where? Which one? Oh, the one on the top there? Oh, yeah. It does look like Cthulhu. Cthulhu is a demon. It looks sort of like an octopus.
I saw
He's from
a cute cartoon where Cthulhu is in a bar commiserating with the bartender, and he said I could have been huge, could have been bigger than the devil, could have been huge, but people can't pronounce my name. Or they can't spell it either. Cross between an octopus and a dragon.
I sent the pictures to you, Steve. I don't know if you got it.
How did you send them? To what address?
Steve at MacMan.
I'm not there. I'm at Apple Cider now.
Oh,
Okay,
I
I'm
know.
back.
There's always a complication. I did like the Peeps in Wonderland. That was really cool.
All right, so a couple more things they've done in iOS 15. The irony of adding Face ID just as everyone starts needing to wear a mask, they have made it faster to register your face even while having a mask on, and switching to the passcode input faster if it can't recognize you. A couple of things they added in FaceTime which are interesting. Share play, so you can watch TV shows or listen to music inside of FaceTime with other people on a video chat, which is something that Zoom has been doing for a while now. So you start with your friends, you both have a DVD, and you hit start at the same time, so you can watch it together, and you can comment on it together. Or if you're really good, if you have enough bandwidth, you can share it. One person can share it through Zoom, so you don't have to each person have a DVD.
You mean through FaceTime?
Well, they've added it to FaceTime. People have been doing it on Zoom for a while, or
Okay.
both people watching Netflix while you've got a FaceTime call open. But now you can actually bring your movies and TV shows that you've purchased through Apple into your FaceTime connection directly. Yeah.
I want to ask you a quick question that's sort of related to this stuff. I upgraded my iPad to iOS 15. And after I almost finished the process, it kept bugging me to finish setting up Siri and I think face recognition. I don't at this time choose to use either one of them. But if I click on that or tap on it, whatever, and go into it, does it give me an option of just saying no for now and later on I can do it or whatever?
Yeah,
Without,
there's a set up later command,
yeah, but will it
and
keep bugging me?
then it stops the notification. So then you have to manually go into the Siri setting to set it up. But it stops the notification and stops the little red 1 or 2 or 3 telling you that there's more for you to do.
Okay, so like the next time that thing came up, I could tap on it, go into it, and then say not now, and it would stop the notifications.
Yep.
Right. Thank you.
Let's see. Yeah, so if you have especially for TV shows that you have purchased from Apple or Apple TV Plus, SharePlay works across iOS 15, and they've also, I believe they're introducing it into the Monterey soon too, so that you can be watching the show and then see your friends in the little thumbnails, so you can watch together. Screen sharing is now easier in FaceTime. It always struck me as odd that screen sharing was part of iChat, which was text, and then you can share your screen. Now they've also added screen sharing inside of FaceTime, so that you can show off, photos and albums and pictures. But it's also handy for remote tech support. If you happen to be the tech support person for your relatives, being able to try to talk them through clicking which button is a lot easier when you can see their screen. Spatial audio is something that's interesting. It only works on newer models. In fact, if we go to footnote 3, where we're used to stereo sound, where you've got left and right, spatial audio is wizardry, where in this example, there's 2 people on the left. You'll hear them in your spatial audio equipped headphones, which includes the AirPod Pro 3rd generation and the AirPod Max. You'll hear them in different places. So the person in the upper left, you'll hear in the upper left, and the person in the lower left, you'll hear in the lower left. So it actually separates people more than just left and right. And when you're listening to music, do they have? No, they don't have that. There are also iTunes tracks and video tracks that have spatial audio built in, so that you can also listen to a concert and hear the instruments coming from different parts of the stage. If you've ever been to the IMAX, you know that they have rear speakers, they have side speakers, they have top speakers, they have front speakers. That's now being added into the hardware, so that Dolby Atmos is the other major audio system that handles this spatial audio. So that's kind of neat if your hardware and headphones are close enough to it. And that's one of the things that the 6-speaker sound system on the studio display handles, is spatial audio, so that it can put out audio in all the different positions. So one of the things they added to FaceTime a couple of versions ago was that the pictures were kind of floating on top of each other. And the person that was talking got bigger. And what would happen is, if people started talking over each other, which is really common, pictures would get big and small and big and small, and it was really annoying. So now there's a new feature called Grid View, where you can keep all your people in a grid, which is how it used to be before that as well. And you can turn on portrait mode on a new enough phone, so it automatically blurs your background out, so you don't have to worry about what's behind you. There are different mic modes, so that you can isolate a voice from the noise, from the background noise, so that if you're watching TV, for example, the spoken track is louder than the background tracks, which is kind of neat. Um, there is now a web interface for FaceTime. So if you have people running Windows or Android, you can still invite them now to a FaceTime call. There was a lot of talk in the early days of FaceTime that it's based on an open standard and that Apple was expected to release a FaceTime for Android, but they never did. So now it's almost here. You have FaceTime for FaceTime for web, so that you can invite someone via Windows or Android on the web. And they still include the end-to-end encryption so that your calls are encrypted. Anyone do Memoji? So you can make a custom animated icon of yourself. That was real popular when it first came out. Everyone made their own Memoji and then quickly forgot about it. There's a new section called Shared With You. So in Messages, it will automatically pull out items that have been shared to you. Links, news, photos, so that you can find stuff that's shared to you specifically versus things in like a group chat, which is handy. More Memojis, so you can have more customized control over what your Memoji looks like, with more skin tones, more hair styles, eyeglass styles. You can now get a cochlear implant or an oxygen tube on your Memoji. So we don't want to leave anyone out. Messages now does photo collections, like the Photos app does. So it's very common to send a lot of messages or send a lot of photos through the Messages app, and then you can add them into your photo library automatically with just a tap. The little download icon will allow you to add all those photos to your photo roll. One thing that a lot of people don't often remember is that the photos in their messages take up a lot of space, and one of the things that can happen is if your phone starts running out of space, it can be because there's a lot of photos being used in the Messages app. In settings, you can have messages auto-delete when they age out. Or you can also go to iCloud Messages, which will store your messages on iCloud so that it doesn't have to store them directly on the phone. So that can help with the smaller phone capacities. So 64 gig phones are pretty small these days. We think maybe the next batch of phones might start at 128 gigs.
So I've got a question about these photos that come from Messages. If you put it in your library, how are you going to know what the origin was and what the copyright status of it was?
You don't.
So that's bad.
No, whoever sent it to you, it's up to them to honor copyright.
Yeah, and how many people are going to do that?
Yep, almost nobody. If there's any EXIF data in the file, it'll probably stay there. Generally speaking, messages are set mostly used for people to send their own photos back and forth.
Do they at least divide it up into a separate album that says, oh, this is your Messages photos that you downloaded?
I don't remember. I know there's automatic albums based on where something came from. Let's see, media type. Videos, selfies, live photos, panoramas, time lapses, animated, screenshots. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's a separate album for photos that came in Messages. They're just mixed in your regular photos based on the date they were
There's
taken.
no way to create your own, like a smart album?
You would, yeah, you could create an album and put photos in it. And push it in the right place. Yeah.
But nothing automatic.
This is the hang up, and this is the answer. Yeah.
Nothing automatic.
Nothing that I see. So when you add photo to your library, then you go and put them in an album. You can there are media type.
To your library, then you go and put them in an album.
Echo.
I'm getting an echo
There are
from
media
somebody.
type to your library, then you go and put them in an album.
Well, let me interrupt for a second. I'm about to leave. And Saturday, I won't be doing any invite for Green Apples thing because I got prior engagement. But I'll see everybody at the board meeting and next month.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Steve, thank you for mentioning the echo. Sorry about that. I forgot to mute while I checked YouTube. But checking YouTube, I was getting audio, but I'm not seeing video. Is that true?
No, there should be audio going into YouTube too.
No, I'm getting audio.
Oh.
I'm not getting video.
Yeah, because it's a Zoom window. Whenever I bring up Safari, I have to change OBS. The Zoom screen sharing doesn't work.
I'm trying to be more aware of that since you've pointed out that that's the problem. That's why I decided to check. Okay. Oh, crap. Yeah, my mic is on now. Anytime you get that feedback problem, I'm the first culprit you should check. And so feel free to mute me if that happens, if I've forgotten.
So, Steve,
No,
you could host Green Apples. You don't have to have Bob do it. Oh, okay. Well,
Hey, Rick, you can host Green Apples.
I suppose I could.
I'm not. I'm just kind of yanking your chain because the truth is, I personally rarely attend it.
Really attend, yeah.
So I'm not asking you to do it on my behalf anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm going to mute myself.
I would have noticed if I'd had left my YouTube playing, but I had Zoom playing on the iPad when we were doing that sharing, so I didn't notice.
I guess what I'd have to do is have a list of everybody that attends the Green Apples meeting and be able to email them.
Okay, Steve, I've got the video back on YouTube.
Okay. One of the more confusing things for me, at least, with iOS 15 is they changed Do Not Disturb to be Focus. So rather than just Do Not Disturb, there are now multiple Do Not Disturbs, where you can tell the other person you're driving, or you're doing a workout, or you're playing a game, rather than just saying, I'm busy, don't bother me.
So you could just always lie and say you're working out.
Yeah. So you've got multiple levels of focus.
I can see it already, 4 a.m. in the morning. I'm working out.
Yeah.
I'm doing
Oh yeah,
mindfulness.
I'm gaming. I'm gonna tell someone I'm gaming so that they can say, "What do you mean? You're playing a game? Oh, you should be doing."
And they've tried to make the notification icons bigger so you can see where they're coming from. My problem is the notifications pile up on top of each other so often. So even with this notification summary, where you can swipe between your notifications, it's often there's too many on the screen.
What I have a problem with the notifications that they'll show up and then they'll be like a little X where you could get rid of it, but that doesn't work. And they stay there when I'm trying to work on something. It's very annoying.
You must not be hitting the X right in the center. Sometimes it takes a little bit because it's a small target to get to hit that X. I've also found that you can often swipe off the screen. Swipe that notification off and it will swipe away as well.
Oh, okay, I'll try that. Thanks.
Yep. Let's see. They've added new cities. Rochester's not one of them. Added new transit features. Rochester's not one of them. The bottom tab bar, you can choose to put your tabs at the top or the bottom, and you can have tab groups to organize your tabs. So I've done that for a few things where I have like all my computer news in one group of tabs, and I have my airplane news in one group of tabs, and then the rocket news in one group of tabs, so that you can swipe between them easier. But I'm so used to just hitting the tab button to open my tab window up, because that's the way it worked when I was doing it. A lot of times, it's the way you learn it is the way you keep excuse me, keep doing it. It may be a new feature, but you already learned it the other way.
When you
Yeah,
learned
there's
it way back in the old days when you were young, a year ago.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that they change, and it just kind of makes it easier to get lost and screwed up.
Yeah. Yeah, they've opened up the wallet app, so you can have ID cards for state licenses. So a couple of states have started allowing you to put your ID card in your wallet. New York State lets you put your COVID card in your wallet, and there are more electronic locks for hotels and physical locks in your house that you can now add to your wallet. We didn't when we were traveling. We didn't go in any hotels that were that fancy, but some of the fancier hotels, you can basically, when you book, you can check in on your phone, and it puts the key in your wallet. So then you walk up to your door and use the NFC in your phone, and you don't even have to stop at the front desk and get a key card, because now your phone is your key card. Live text is probably one of the coolest features they've added, but footnote 5, we're gonna go to that one. Let's see. Footnote 5 is iPhone with A12 or later. So live text, let me get back to there, allows you to look at a picture of text. How far back do I have to go? There we are. You can look at a picture of text, and it will automatically find the text in that picture. And so, here was an example looking at a signpost outside a building. It automatically found that it was a phone number, and then you could send that person a phone call or add them to your contacts. You can scan a business card and import them as a contact. And in addition to doing it in live photos, so just pointing your phone at a picture and seeing the text, it will also work through photos in your photo library. So now you can search your photo library by any text that might be in one of the pictures. But you need to have a newer processor.
We used to call that OCR, optical character recognition.
It's a little more than that, because it doesn't scan, well, it does scan the whole photo and pulls the text out, but it's all happening in real time. You don't have to wait for a scan to actually run and the recognition to happen, because the processor is so fast, it can do it in real time. Just like it sees the picture of text and then pops up the menu immediately. Do you want to call this phone number? And what's really cool, even in your camera, so you don't even have to take a picture. Just opening the camera app will read the text in the camera app, and it will recognize dates, for example, and add a calendar event based on a sign that you're pointing to. Or live text translation. So you can point your camera at a sign in German, and it will auto-translate it to English for you. And it works in several different languages. We were playing with that at the office in Chinese. Some of the parts we get made in China will have Chinese characters on it, and we'll point the camera to it, and it translates it on the fly. But you have to have an A12 or better. Let me find out when did they add the A12.
So which models are those?
Yeah. I wish the A series matched the phone series. but they don't. So phone, let's see. So the 5, iPhone 5 is an A6, 6 is an 8, 6S is a 9, A11. So A12 is in the 10S or later. So with a 10S or later, you can do live text.
Well, a new SE phone would do it too, right?
Yeah, second generation and third generation because they're later than a 10S.
Oh, okay, cool. That means I need to upgrade to iOS 15.
Yep.
At last, a reason to upgrade.
It finally, yeah.
Yes.
Is there anything that's gone away in 15 from 14?
I don't know offhand. Let's oops, if I can spell right.
Before Carol and I upgrade?
Let's see.
Are those French features?
Yeah. Removing features. That's a video. I don't want to see video. I want to see. So there's a security feature they removed. Let me see. No, that's not it. Well, let's see if we can see what the key items are in this video. Does it have a menu for key items?
All right, it's saying iPhone 14 rather than iOS 14.
Oh, that's a good point. Is this iPhone or I?
Yeah, it says
Yeah.
iPhone 14. It's not iOS 14.
Okay. Let's see. iOS.
How about there were people ask, how is iOS 14 different?
Well, that always shows you the things they added,
Oh,
not necessarily the things they removed.
There was you just went by a question up about what, go up a little farther. A little
Oh,
more.
here's so older phones may not have all the iOS features that are available.
Yeah. Keep going. Keep going. You're doing great. Okay, hold on. What are the disadvantages? It looks like you already looked at that, huh? The disadvantages of iOS 15.
That's as compared to Android.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, never mind.
The keyboard. I like the Android gives you all the letters and numbers on the same keyboard. That's the one thing I hate about the iPhone, that I have to click to go to the.
Yeah, it's bad like when you're doing a password that has
Yeah.
letters, numbers, caps, no caps. It's like, oh.
You can install a different keyboard that has those features already in it.
How do you do that?
Go to the
Is that
App Store and get a new keyboard.
And once
mean
you get it, stuck
You
with
mean
it,
a
or can you
physical
quit?
keyboard?
No, there's the soft keyboards. The Google Swipe keyboard is one you can add. A lot of people like that. You don't have to tap on each letter. You can swipe from letter to letter to letter to letter without lifting up your finger.
Wasn't that used on some Apple devices?
Yeah.
I think it's built into iOS 15 now. Let me do a swipe.
Mine's always done swipe.
Mhm.
Maybe it was 14. The phone didn't used to do it. You had to add it as a separate keyboard. Yeah, new features, new features, new features. What's different? New features. Yeah, I don't see anything about what's been removed from 14 to 15. But all right, so let's do this. iOS 15 keyboards. Yeah, if you go into the keyboard preference, you can add more keyboards. Yeah, settings. Oh, let's see. Larger keyboards, soft keys. Where is it? Let me just go back to my iPhone and we'll find it. It's either under keyboard or languages where you can add additional keyboards.
Language is that?
I think you're German or Norwegian or something.
Look, maybe Norwegian or something.
Yeah.
Yeah or nay?
In settings, under general, under keyboards, under add new keyboard, you have other keyboards that are available for adding in other languages. That's not exactly what I want. Yeah. That's just keyboard languages. Third-party keyboards. So emoji keyboards. So it looks like Grammarly installed its own keyboard there. Use your loaf.
So what?
What is use your loaf?
Bread?
Yeah. Keyboard constraints. Keyboard top edge. No, that's not what I wanted. How about something like that? So that's swiping. No. Add keyboard layout. Alternate layout. for diacritical marks, yeah. Oh, that's if you have the physical keyboard connected.
Well, do you
Customize, there we
wanna,
go, customize keyboard. So I was in the right place. In the list of languages, one of the options is customize keyboard. What year? Oh, this is iOS 8, so that may be gone by now. All the different Englishes.
Oh, that's a
Igbo.
good idea.
IGBO. What language is that from? Yeah, so that so from iOS 8 that's gone.
So it may or may not be possible, and you can
Yeah, they
check
may
out
have,
the internet to find the
they may have
answer.
changed it, yeah.
So maybe we need to like finish off iOS capabilities.
you can always post it later if you find it.
I won't look later.
Well, maybe somebody else will find it and can post it.
Probably in the App Store is where you would find additional keyboards. Yeah, third-party keyboards. So it would be in the App Store. Yeah, so this example, they have third-party keyboards installed. So if you go into the App Store, probably search for keyboard, you'll be able to find additional keyboards.
And can you switch back and forth between keyboards once you have them?
Yeah. Yeah, there's the Grammarly keyboard, Facemoji keyboard, Art keyboard, multiple font keyboard. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different keyboards available.
Okay, success. You've answered the
Yep.
question. Congratulations.
Some are free, some have in-app purchases, some are pay. Just like everything else.
If you would like the number 1, it will cost you 99 cents.
Yeah.
If you do not need to use the number 1, it's free.
Spotlight results are more, rather than just saying, here's what I found on the web, it actually shows you the web page or the Wikipedia entry or something like that. Let's see, memories. Do people use memories? So
Yes.
the typical use used to be you'd import your photos, make an album, import your photos, make an album, import your photos, make an album. So then they added the memories feature, so that memories are basically an album of photos taken on a certain date or in a certain place. So it's an automatic thing for you, so you don't have to do it all manually. So you have new interactive and immersive memories.
Yeah, it usually annoys me, when I'm working. So pay no
And you-
attention to it. Move
And
on.
you can use all the songs in the Apple Music library. So, on our trip, I took about 3,000 photos, so I got to import all those and start building memories, and then I can inflict them on everyone.
What
Hey,
does it
what
mean
about-
to use the Apple Music?
So for behind a slideshow, you can use Apple Music. I wonder if that means you have to subscribe to Apple Music in order to use those songs for your audio backgrounds. Otherwise, you can probably only use the music you have in your own library.
I have plenty of music in my own library. I do not need
Yep.
Apple's music.
I have none. I use Alexa.
We got one called Back in the Day with Matthew on it. And music. Pick music. Suggestions, soundtracks. Apple Music. No, I can use Apple Music even though... Well, I can't use all of Apple Music, but I can use some of Apple Music even though I haven't subscribed to it.
Okay, good to know.
That's kind of neat. Nope, go away. Yeah, you have more data in the health app, especially if you have health devices, like an Apple Watch for tracking runs and heartbeat. You can share health information with people you specify, including your doctor. You get a privacy report to see what applications you have and what they're doing, what permissions you've granted them. It's actually a good thing to go into your privacy every now and then and take a look at what apps you've granted permission to do things that you don't use anymore. It's so common to download a new app, play with it for a while, and then ignore it without uninstalling it, and forget that you gave it access to your photo library. So that's under privacy, and there's an app privacy report. We've had a couple of people get confused a little bit with Safari. It has a privacy report built in. So Safari has blocked 79 trackers in the last 7 days when you didn't know it was doing that. Who's tracking me on the internet? Well, thousands and thousands of people. Especially if you go to a news website. Let's see, we'll go to CNN. And let's see, 25 trackers on the CNN website alone.
Steve, this isn't particularly a matter of iOS 15, but before we sign off tonight, you might mention something about, and I'm not sure I'm going to get the name of it right, but is it Apple's private relay?
Yep, that was the next section.
Oh, cool.
So there are two new privacy protections in email, and then a related protection in the entire OS. So in mail protection, you have an option to hide your IP address. So when you open an email, it is very, very common, especially in junk mail, for the message to have a link to a web page, or a link to a picture, or a link to a white dot that you can't know is there. But then it tells the other end you opened that picture because it downloaded that picture. It knows you opened the email because you downloaded that little pixel. So what Apple will do is they will hide your IP address, and they will open your mail on their servers instead of your computer, so that the marketing companies never get your information. They only get Apple's, which then dilutes it because of all the millions of people using Apple's protections. So it helps your privacy by lumping you into all of Apple's servers with all the other people there.
So it screws all the marketers.
Right. And another feature that's coming in iCloud Plus is the iCloud Private Relay, which is almost like a VPN, a virtual private network. When your computer requests data from the internet, either a website or an email, your computer sends a request to the server, and then the server sends data back. And your ISP knows everywhere you went on the internet because it sent you there. And any router along the way knows there's traffic flowing back and forth between these two, client and server. So what a private relay or even a VPN does is all of the data goes to the VPN, and then from the VPN it goes to the rest of the world. So the trackers and advertisers on the internet only see the VPN source. They don't see your source. And even your ISP only sees that you went to the VPN. It doesn't know where else you went from that. In general, VPNs don't provide much additional protection because it just shifts the exposure from you to the VPN service. So you have to really trust your VPN provider that they don't log anything themselves. And all the free VPN providers do log everything because they have to make money somehow. So they log and sell your data. There are a couple of VPN services. I've heard the best things about ExpressVPN. It's only $7 a month. And when they spin up a VPN for you, it's only in RAM. Nothing is ever written to disk. So if the authorities come and steal the VPN server, your data's not on it because it never was on the drive. It was only in RAM. So that's an interesting thing that they're adding in Private Relay. I don't think it's available quite yet. It's in beta, so it's available if you want to turn the beta on. The other thing they're adding in iCloud Plus is if you have a HomeKit video security camera, you can store the video from that camera on iCloud and using part of your iCloud storage. So, for example, instead of needing to pay extra for Ring storage, you can store that on your iCloud. I don't know how many companies are using HomeKit video yet. That might be under footnote 10. We're getting near the bottom to see the footnotes. So the other thing they've done in emails, in addition to hiding your IP address, when you go to sign up for a new service, generally they want your email address. Apple will make a fake email address for you to use with that company, so that company never gets your real email address. And if that company does try to email you at that fake address, Apple will forward it on to your real address. So that can help cut down if a company sells your address to another marketing company, you'll know it because you'll get messages from that random address from a different company that you didn't subscribe to yourself.
Quick question here, Steve.
Yep.
iCloud Plus, how do you get this? How do you access it? Does it use the regular? I'm in the 99 cent a month club on that one. So for iCloud, so what does it do in terms of your storage and all the rest of it?
It basically does nothing. You basically already have iCloud Plus. They're adding new features if you have supported hardware. So let's go back to the footnotes here. iCloud Plus plans. So starting with the 50 gig a month plan, the 99 cents,
Right.
then you can use one HomeKit video camera. With the 200 gig plan, you can use 5 HomeKit cameras. And with the 2 terabyte plan, you can use unlimited HomeKit cameras.
I guess my question is, if I want to use that, and is it private relay or darn, I lost the terminology.
There's
How
two
do I
different
know?
ones. Yeah,
So-
private relay is in your iCloud settings. And hide my email is also in your iCloud settings. Let me bring up my phone again, and it's also in the computer settings. I'm going to make a new share and system preferences.
And then does it use it automatically, or how do you know you're using it?
So private relay beta. So I'd have to upgrade my iCloud plan. I'm already paying. No, I'm not. I'm on the CIDER account. CIDER account is free. So if you're paying for iCloud, you have iCloud Plus.
Okay, but the private relay is still in a beta, so I would have to, which I don't want to take until it's not a beta anymore. But so I would have to go back into those settings and look for it and upgrade once it's not a beta.
Right. So
Okay.
there'll be an on-off button there.
Right. Okay.
And under hide my email, yeah, so it will let you set up multiple email addresses. So anytime you want to create a new account for a service that you're logging into, it will make a random email address for you and store it in basically in Apple servers. So in technical terms, it's an email alias. So that they send a message to the alias, you get it in your real account.
Okay. Thank you.
The message you get in your real account, who does it come from? The
Whoever-
sender or app?
Whoever sent it.
Can you set up a camera outside an apartment if obviously other people live there?
You can, yes. It is likely illegal to do so. There have also been some interesting cases with doorbell cameras and like driveway cameras that can see across the street into the other person's house, and the other person sues for privacy violations. There have been several cases I've read about that. So if you put a doorbell camera in your apartment building, you are potentially violating the right to privacy for everyone who walks by your door.
What about the outside door?
That's a little iffier because outside is public. Depends on how far the apartment. Well, if it's an apartment building, whoever owns the apartment building would have the right to the space in front of the building. If it's your own house, it's wherever your property line ends. So I've had to cut
Right,
back
well,
my
it's-
camera so that it doesn't record the it doesn't get triggered when the neighbors go by or when the cars go by on the street. But now I miss cars in my driveway sometimes because
How
I've
do
had
you
to
change-
back off the camera.
How do you change that range, so to speak?
In the app for the camera.
And does it just like, is it a sort of like a depth of field thing where it just blurs everything past a certain point?
No, it at least on my with Foscam and Ring that I'm familiar with, you there's a like an arc, and you pull back the arc before the camera's triggered.
Okay.
But when the
right.
camera's triggered, it captures the whole depth of field.
Uh-huh. All right.
Well, I think you should sort of wind it up. It's about 9:45 here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. This has been a information
Yeah.
load.
Yeah, so people who haven't upgraded to iOS 15, make a backup first, so you can downgrade to 14 if you really. Actually, I don't know if you can anymore. Let me find out. And then do the upgrade and see if you like it or not.
Well, and if they do, they can report back next meeting and say, hey, I did it, and here's what happened.
Yeah.
At my minimal level of sophistication, I haven't really noticed much difference from doing it. But
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like you have to look for the new features.
right. I also
I think-
installed Monterey last night, and no problem happened with that. So
Yeah, we've had enough updates. In fact, the 12.13.1 patch that came out a week or so ago was a critical update for a 0-day flaw that was found in the wild.
yep. But if I upgraded to Monterey last night, that should include that
Probably 12.13.1.
because I did. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I haven't checked that.
I got to upgrade the club's computer tonight. I wait until after the meeting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Apple News, like right before a meeting last month, I saw a little thing on TV, Apple founder coming to Rochester, and I'm like, what's that? I'm like, oh, we'll probably talk about it at the meeting. And then I forgot about it. And then so I Googled it today, and I guess he was here today. Steve Wozniak was here today speaking, I think.
I remember talking about it at the last meeting.
You
Yeah.
did?
It was today.
Yeah,
I don't
Rochester
remember.
Convention Center.
And Charlie and I were getting drastic differences in prices. When I went to the Chamber of Commerce page to look up the price, it was like $500 or $600.
Is that all?
Yeah.
No, now couldn't you have like, hey, you're in town anyway, why don't you come talk at our meeting? Give us a discount.
Yeah, we had him a few years ago.
Was it 2009?
Yeah, for
Was
our
that long
25th
ago?
anniversary for
Yeah.
Cider.
It was a deal then because it was only $5, right?
Yeah.
$5?
Yep, we did it over at MCC.
Yep. It was quite an event. Of course, you know,
The
if
video
he
of
needs
that
money,
is on our website.
Although the
Somewhere.
$5 might have been the student price. I
It
think-
was for students or members.
Yeah.
So who paid for him to come? I mean,
We did the club.
Club.
We did.
how much was it? I forget.
Yeah, if you were not a Chamber of Commerce member, it was $120. If you were a student, it was $50. If you were a Chamber of Commerce member, it was $85. Exhibitors were $850, so that's probably a 10 by 10 booth.
We had quite a few people came for that.
Yeah, it was a pretty packed auditorium. Alrighty, so Saturday Virtual SIG is canceled. So our next being our board meeting next Wednesday, and our May 11th regular meeting, Doug Pearman's going to talk about some of the word processors he has found. So there's more than just pages.
so Rick, you're not doing green apples.
Well, I would have to have a list of everyone who attends, their emails, and then I would have to email them about.
Usually it's just Kim, you
is.
go, right? Rick and Carol, you go sometimes, right?
Yeah, a lot of times it's Kim, myself, and Bob, and maybe Kim.
Linda, you've gone a few times back in the past.
Linda sometimes goes. Yeah.
So there you are. There's your list, Rick, right in front of you, staring at you.
Yeah, and I don't have all those emails.
They're in the
I've got maybe half.
they're in the list that Carol has.
Yeah, I have the list with emails.
Okay.
Carol, while we're on the subject, while we're not on the subject, you've got a background with some tulips and stuff in it. I don't know what the building is, but the caption for it in the lower corner is reading backwards. What is that?
I should
It's
turn it around
Propalo.
because I'm doing. I did mirroring,
Mirroring,
so I gotta
yeah.
flip it around.
So yeah, so I lifted my right hand,
It's in
and in the picture,
Massachusetts.
the hand on the left raised.
This
So
is
you can
my
mirror your camera.
hand. Yeah. All right, let me go.
It's no big deal. I just was curious.
See. Background.
Yeah,
I don't,
if you want
I'll
to,
unmirror it. There it is.
yeah, if you want to see what you see, or you want to see what the other end sees.
Yeah. Okay, so that's Kripalu, and it's in Massachusetts, just over the state line.
What
Yeah,
is
it
it?
still shows backwards for us, though.
I
Yeah,
just switched it around, but it's still
It's
backwards.
still backwards for us.
Is that
I
the,
don't know
is
how to
that
fix it.
are you using the Zoom background or some
They
third party one?
create it's their Zoom background,
Mhm.
and when I downloaded it, it looked like the name was backwards to me.
Yeah.
So I put it up, and then I clicked on mirroring.
Yeah, you go into the Zoom video settings
Yeah.
and click on mirror my video.
What is the nature of that institution?
It's currently a yoga place. Used to be an ashram at one time, and long before that, it was a Jesuit. What do you call it?
Seminary?
Where they were in training. Yeah,
Seminary, whatever. Yeah. All right.
And it was a yoga ashram, and so they had programs for people from the public could go in and take programs there, and mostly yoga programs. And it was run by the people that were living in the ashram, so it was very inexpensive. And now they're more like sort of a new age spa-ish type place because the ashram is no more, and so they have to pay people to work there. But it's a lovely place. It's in the Berkshires.
So now it's triple the price, right?
Probably even more now, but still a lovely place to go.
Well, it's been nice to see you folks. And I'm going to sign off.
All right.
See you next
And
Wednesday.
Likewise.
Thank you all you hangers in there
Yeah.
and stuff. And we'll do the board meeting next week and do some more discussion and everything. And so have a happy Easter to everyone,
Exactly.
or Passover to whoever. And we will all talk next week or next month.
Okay.
Next week.
If not,
All right. Good night.
Everybody.
Night.
Bye.
Right.
Good night.